I found out my wife was sleeping with my business partner exactly 37 minutes before I was supposed to sign over half my company to him. The notification popped up on my iPad while I sat in the conference room of Patterson and Associates, waiting for our lawyer to finish printing the final documents. My phone was charging at home, so I'd grabbed Emily's tablet that morning to review some last-minute figures. When the screen lit up, I saw a text preview from someone named Jim Guy with a little eggplant emoji next to it. "Can't wait to see you tonight. Tell Kevin you're at book club again. I need to taste you." My hand froze halfway to my coffee cup. Kevin. That's me. Kevin Bradshaw, 34 years old, married for 8 years, father of 2 beautiful girls. The guy who just spent the last 6 months working 16-hour days to make sure this partnership deal would secure our family's future forever. I stared at those words until they stopped making sense, then started making too much sense. Book club. Emily had been going to book club every Thursday for the past 4 months. She'd even bought new books, left them strategically around the house with bookmarks stuck in random pages. My finger moved on autopilot, opening her messages. The thread went back months. Hundreds of messages. Photos I couldn't unsee even though I only glimpsed them for a second before looking away. Videos I didn't have the stomach to play. And then I saw it. A message from 3 weeks ago that made my blood turn to ice water. Kevin's meeting with the lawyers next month to finalize everything with Trevor. Once that's done, we can finally be together. He'll have to buy Trevor out of the company if we divorce, and with the new valuation, that'll cost him everything. We'll be free, and you'll have enough to start fresh with me. Trevor. Trevor fucking Walsh. My best friend since college. The guy who'd been my roommate, my groomsman, my daughter Lucy's godfather. The man I was about to make an equal partner in Bradshaw Digital Solutions, the company I'd built from nothing in my garage 7 years ago. The conference room door opened. Trevor walked in, all smiles, carrying 2 coffees from the place down the street. "Got you a double shot," he said, setting one in front of me. "Figured we should be caffeinated for the big moment." I looked up at him. Really looked at him. The expensive haircut Emily had commented on last month. The new watch. The way he'd been hitting the gym, getting fit. All the times he'd volunteered to keep Emily company when I was traveling for business. The weekend he'd helped her move furniture while I was at that conference in Denver. "You good, man?" Trevor asked, his smile faltering. "You look like you've seen a ghost." "Just nervous," I said, surprised by how steady my voice sounded. "Big day." "Biggest day of our lives," he agreed, settling into the chair across from me. "Can't believe we're finally here. Equal partners. This company's going to explode now that we're both fully invested." Equal partners. The new operating agreement would give him 49% ownership. Not quite half, but enough. Enough that if Emily divorced me, and I had to buy him out based on our new valuation, the one that reflected all the contracts we just landed, the ones I'd spent 6 months securing, I'd be financially destroyed. The lawyer, Richard Patterson, walked back in with a stack of papers. "Gentlemen, we're ready to proceed. Kevin, I'll need your signature on pages 3, 7, 12, and 15. Trevor, you'll sign on pages 4, 8, 13, and 16. I looked down at Emily's tablet, still glowing in my lap. Another message had just come through. "He's at the lawyer's right now. It's really happening." Trevor's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, smiled slightly, then put it face down on the table. "Kevin?" Richard was holding out a pen. "Shall we begin?" I thought about my daughters. Lucy was 6, Madison was 4. I thought about the college funds I'd set up, the house we'd just bought with the big backyard Emily said she'd always dreamed of. I thought about 8 years of marriage, of working my tail off to provide while Emily stayed home with the girls like she wanted. Every late night, every missed dinner, every sacrifice, all of it to build something permanent, something secure. All of it a lie. Actually, I said, setting the tablet face up on the table where Trevor could see it. I think we need to pause for a moment. Trevor's eyes flicked to the screen. I watched the color drain from his face. Kevin, I can explain. Can you? I stood up, amazed at how calm I felt. The shock was still there, somewhere deep inside, but on the surface, I was ice. Because I'd really love to hear how you explain planning to destroy me financially so you can run off with my wife. Richard looked between us, confused. Gentlemen, what's going on? The deal's off, I said, never taking my eyes off Trevor. In fact, Trevor, you're fired. Effective immediately. I'll have security box up your office and mail you your personal items. You can't just, Trevor started. I own 51% of the company. Check the current operating agreement. I absolutely can. You're an employee, Trevor. A well-compensated one, sure, but an employee. And I just caught you conspiring to commit fraud and breach your fiduciary duty. His mouth opened and closed like a fish. I turned to Richard. I'm going to need a different kind of lawyer. Do you know anyone who specializes in divorce? I left Patterson's office with 2 business cards in my pocket. One for a divorce attorney named Barbara Winters, the other for a forensic accountant Patterson knew from previous cases. The November air hit my face like a slap, sharp and clarifying. My phone buzzed. Emily. Running to Target. Need anything? The normalcy of it made my stomach turn. I stared at those words, imagining her typing them with the same fingers that had written hearts and kiss emojis to Trevor. The same hands that had touched him while I was traveling for work, building a company I'd almost handed over to the man screwing my wife. We need to talk. Come straight home. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Everything okay? Just come home. I sat in my car for a moment, engine running, heat blasting. The leather portfolio with the unsigned partnership documents sat on the passenger seat like evidence at a crime scene. My hands were steady on the wheel. That surprised me. I'd expected shaking, rage, something physical. Instead, I felt cold, calculated. The drive home took 23 minutes. I used every one of them. First call, Barbara Winters. Her assistant said she could see me tomorrow at 9. I took it. Second call, my accountant, Dennis Kowalski. Voicemail. I left a message asking him to compile every financial document related to the business for the past 3 years. Corporate accounts, my personal accounts, everything. I'll explain tomorrow, I said, but I need this fast. Third call. My sister, Jennifer. She lived 40 minutes away in the suburbs with her husband and 3 kids. Kevin, what's wrong? Can Lucy and Madison stay with you tonight? Maybe a few nights? Of course. What happened? Emily and I are separating. I'll explain later. I just need them out of the house before I talk to her. Silence. Then, Jesus, Kevin, I'm so sorry. Can you pick them up from school? I'll text you the details. Already getting my keys. Emily's car was in the driveway when I pulled up. A white Lexus SUV we'd bought 6 months ago when she said the old Honda wasn't safe enough for the girls. $48,000. I'd worked 60-hour weeks to afford the down payment. I wondered if Trevor had been in that car, if they'd used it for afternoon meetings while I thought she was at gymnastics classes and playdates. She was in the kitchen when I walked in, putting away groceries. Organic produce, expensive cheese, the gluten-free crackers Madison liked. Playing housewife, playing mother, playing faithful. Hey, she said, smiling. You're home early. I thought you had that meeting with Richard all afternoon. Meeting ended early. Something in my voice made her pause, a box of pasta halfway to the cabinet. What's wrong? I set my briefcase on the counter, pulled out her tablet. The screen was still on, still showing those messages. I'd taken screenshots on my phone, But I wanted her to see it on her own device. Wanted her to understand exactly how she'd been caught. You left this at home. Madison wanted to play her games. The color drained from her face so fast I thought she might faint. Her hand went to her throat, an unconscious gesture I'd seen 1,000 times when she was nervous. Kevin, how long? My voice sounded strange. Too calm. Like I was asking about the weather. It's not, I can explain. How? Long? She set down the pasta. Her hands were shaking now. 4 months. 4 months. Lucy's 6th birthday party had been 4 months ago. Trevor had been there, grilling hot dogs, pushing the girls on the swing set, laughing at my jokes. He'd brought Lucy a bike with training wheels. I'd hugged him, thanked him for being such a good friend. The messages say you've been planning this, waiting until after I made him partner. Kevin, please. You were going to take half of everything, force me to buy him out at the new valuation. You and my best friend were going to financially destroy me. It wasn't like that. Then what was it like, Emily? The calm cracked. Just a little. Explain it to me. Explain how screwing Trevor in our bed while I was in Denver for work wasn't exactly what it looks like. She flinched. We never did it here. I would never. Oh, well, that makes it better. Thank you for that consideration. Really thoughtful. You're never here. The words burst out of her like they'd been waiting. You work 80 hours a week. You miss dinner. You miss bedtime. You missed Madison's recital last month because of some client emergency. When was the last time we had a conversation that wasn't about your company or bills or scheduling? So you screwed Trevor. He was there. He listened. He made me feel. I don't care. I cut her off. I don't care how he made you feel. You want to leave? Leave. You want a divorce? We'll get divorced. But you don't get to conspire with my business partner to rob me blind. You don't get to plan my financial ruin while I'm working to give you everything you wanted. I never asked for the house. You asked for this house, the new car, private school for Lucy, the vacation to Hawaii. I gave you everything, Emily. I worked myself half to death to give you the life you said you wanted. She was crying now. I felt nothing. The girls are going to Jennifer's tonight. I've already called her. You need to pack a bag and leave. You can't kick me out of my own house. Our house. And I'm not kicking you out. I'm asking you to leave so we can both think clearly. If you refuse, I'll go to a hotel. But either way, I'm filing for divorce tomorrow morning. Kevin, please, can't we talk about this? Talk about what? How you've been lying to me for 4 months? How you and Trevor plan to wait until after I signed away half my company? What's left to talk about? She wiped her eyes. What about the girls? What about them? Are you going to tell them? That their mother is having an affair with their godfather? No, not yet. But I will tell them we're separating, and I will fight for primary custody. You can't. I can, and I will. Barbara Winters is representing me. You should probably get your own attorney. The name meant nothing to her, but the finality in my voice did. I watched her process it, watched the reality settle over her like a weight. I'm sorry, she whispered. No, you're not. You're sorry you got caught. There's a difference. I walked past her, up the stairs to our bedroom. Our bed was made with the expensive duvet she'd wanted from that boutique downtown. I wondered if she'd thought about Trevor while lying next to me. If she'd texted him good night after I fell asleep. I pulled a suitcase from the closet and started packing. Clothes, toiletries, my laptop. Enough for a week. Emily appeared in the doorway. Where are you going? Hotel. You can stay here tonight. Tomorrow I want you gone. This is my home too. Then I'll have my attorney file an emergency motion. Your choice. She watched me pack in silence. When I zipped the suitcase, she said, I did love you. Once. I looked at her then. Really looked at her. The woman I'd married 8 years ago. The mother of my children. The person I'd trusted more than anyone. I loved you too, I said. That's what makes this unforgivable. I left her standing there and walked downstairs, grabbed my briefcase, my keys, my phone. The house felt like a museum already, full of artifacts from a life that no longer existed. My phone buzzed as I started the car. Jennifer. Girls picked up. They're asking questions. What should I tell them? Tell them Daddy had to work late. I'll talk to them tomorrow. I drove to the Marriott downtown and checked in under my name. The room was generic, sterile, nothing like home. Perfect. I sat on the bed and opened my phone. Pulled up Trevor's number. He'd texted me an hour ago. Hey man, sorry about the confusion at Richards. Let me know when you want to reschedule. Confusion. Like he hadn't just tried to steal my company and my life. I typed back, don't contact me again. Your employment is terminated effective immediately. Expect a call from my attorney regarding your buyout. Then I blocked his number. Tomorrow would be ugly. Attorneys, accountants, paperwork, telling my daughters their family was broken, figuring out how to run my company without Trevor, who'd been handling half the client relationships. But tonight, I just sat in that hotel room and let myself feel it. The betrayal, the loss, the rage. And underneath it all, something else. Relief. Because now I knew. And knowing. I could act. The hotel room smelled like industrial cleaning products and stale air conditioning. I sat on the edge of the bed, staring at my phone, watching the time tick past midnight. Couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw those messages. Those goddamn emojis. My phone buzzed. A text from Jennifer. Girls are asleep. Lucy asked about Mommy 3 times. What do you want me to tell them tomorrow? I typed and deleted 4 different responses before settling on. Tell them I'll come by for breakfast. We'll figure it out. 3 dots appeared, then disappeared. Then, okay. I set the phone down and picked up my laptop. Sleep wasn't happening anyway. Might as well be productive. The Bradshaw Digital Solutions client list opened on my screen. Trevor had managed roughly 40% of our accounts. I started making notes, which clients he'd brought in, which ones he serviced, which relationships would survive his departure, which ones would need immediate damage control. The Patterson account. Trevor's college buddy now working at a mid-sized firm downtown. That one was probably gone. Meridian Tech. Trevor had landed that contract at a golf outing. 50-50 chance they'd stay. I worked through the list methodically, categorizing, strategizing. This is what I did. When everything went to hell, I made spreadsheets. I created action items. I turned chaos into data I could manage. By 3 a.m., I had a preliminary plan. 17 accounts needed personal outreach from me within the next 48 hours. 8 accounts were solid regardless. 15 were question marks. My phone buzzed again. Emily. We need to talk about the girls. You can't just take them away from their mother. I stared at the message. The audacity. 4 months screwing my best friend, plotting to financially destroy me, and now she wanted to negotiate parenting time. I didn't respond. Another message. I know you're awake. I can see you read it. Then, Kevin, please. Whatever happened between us, they need their mother. Whatever happened between us. Like it was some mysterious force of nature instead of her calculated betrayal. I turned off read receipts and set the phone face down. The laptop glowed in the dark room. I pulled up a new browser window and searched for divorce attorneys in the area. Not Patterson, too connected to the business mess. I needed someone separate. Someone who specialized in custody cases. Third result down. Valerie Grant, family law attorney. Protecting parents' rights for 15 years. Her website showed a professional headshot. Woman in her 50s, gray-streaked hair pulled back, expression that suggested she didn't take crap from anyone. testimonials from clients who'd won primary custody, a blog post titled, Documentation, Your Best Friend in Divorce Court. I bookmarked it and kept searching. By 4:30, I had a list of 5 attorneys to call when offices opened. My eyes burned. My back ached from hunching over the laptop. But my mind was clear, focused. This was better than thinking about Emily in Trevor's arms. Better than remembering how he'd stood beside me at our wedding, how he'd held Lucy at her baptism, how he'd clinked beer bottles with me in my garage 7 years ago when we landed our first real client. My phone buzzed. Jennifer again. "Are you okay?" I typed. "No, but I will be." She responded immediately. "Want me to come over? I can leave the girls with Tom." "I'm fine. Get some sleep." Kevin. "Really, I'm working. Keeps me sane." A long pause, then. "Okay, but I'm here. Anytime." I set the phone aside and returned to the client list. Meridian Tech. I pulled up the contract history. Trevor had negotiated the initial terms, but I'd done most of the actual work. The CEO was a guy named Paul Jennings. We'd met twice, maybe 3 times. He'd seemed reasonable. I drafted an email. Paul. You may hear some news about personnel changes at Bradshaw Digital Solutions. I wanted to reach out personally to assure you that your account remains our top priority. Trevor Walsh is no longer with the company, but I'll be overseeing your projects directly going forward. I'm available to discuss any concerns at your convenience. Best, Kevin Bradshaw. Professional. Calm. No details about why Trevor was gone. Let Paul draw his own conclusions. I drafted similar emails for the other high-risk accounts, saving them as drafts. Couldn't send them at 4:45 in the morning. That screamed desperation. I'd review them with fresh eyes tomorrow and send them at reasonable business hours. Tomorrow. Today, technically. The sky outside the hotel window was starting to lighten. Gray pre-dawn bleeding into black. My phone rang. Not a text, an actual call. Emily's name on the screen. I let it ring through to voicemail. 30 seconds later, she called again. I silenced the phone and shoved it between the mattress and box spring where I couldn't see it vibrate. The laptop screen had gone dark. I tapped the trackpad and pulled up my personal banking. Joint checking account with Emily. I'd need to address that. Couldn't have her draining it out of spite. The savings account was in my name only, thank God. The college funds for Lucy and Madison were protected trusts. I made another note. Call bank. Separate accounts. The list of things to do was growing. Call attorneys, call clients, call bank, call accountant about tax implications of the divorce, call HR consultant about Trevor's termination paperwork. Call. My chest tightened. The hotel room felt smaller suddenly, walls pressing in. I stood up, paced to the window. The parking lot below was empty except for a few scattered cars. Somewhere out there, Emily was awake too, calling me repeatedly. Somewhere, Trevor was probably sleeping soundly, not yet realizing his entire plan had imploded. Or maybe he wasn't sleeping. Maybe Emily had called him, frantic, after I'd kicked her out. Maybe they were together right now, strategizing their next move. The thought made my jaw clench. I pulled the phone from between the mattresses. 7 missed calls from Emily. 3 voicemails. I played the first one. "Kevin, please pick up. We need to talk about this like adults. You can't just..." I deleted it. The second. "I know you're angry, but you're not thinking clearly. The girls need stability. They need both of us. We can work out a schedule." Delete. The third was just crying. Ragged, gasping sobs. No words. I listened to the whole thing, feeling nothing, then deleted it too. Another call came through. Emily again. I answered. "What?" "Oh, thank God. Kevin, listen." You have 60 seconds. The girls. I need to see them. You can't keep them from me. They're at Jennifer's. You want to see them. Coordinate with her. Jennifer hates me. Can't imagine why. Kevin, please. I made a mistake. I know I did. But I'm still their mother. 45 seconds. Stop it. Stop treating this like a business transaction. You mean the way you and Trevor treated our marriage? Like a business opportunity? Silence. 30 seconds, Emily. I want to come home. No. It's my house, too. You can't just lock me out. Watch me. I'm changing the locks this morning. You want your stuff? You can coordinate a time to pick it up with me present. You're not going in that house unsupervised. That's illegal. You can't. Sue me. Add it to the divorce filing. 15 seconds. I never meant for this to happen. Yeah. You just accidentally ended up in bed with my best friend for 4 months. Just accidentally planned to wait until after the partnership deal to divorce me. Just accidentally. It wasn't like that. Time's up. I ended the call and blocked her number. My hands were shaking. I set the phone down carefully, deliberately, and walked to the bathroom. Splashed cold water on my face. Looked at myself in the mirror. I looked like hell. Dark circles under my eyes. 2-day stubble. Hair standing up where I'd been running my hands through it. But my eyes were clear. Focused. I had work to do. Back in the main room, I pulled up the contact for a locksmith I'd used for the office. 24-hour service. I scheduled an appointment for 8 a.m. at the house. Then I called Jennifer. She answered on the third ring, voice thick with sleep. Kevin, what's wrong? Nothing. Sorry to wake you. Emily's going to call you. Probably soon. She wants to see the girls. Okay? Don't tell her when. Just tell her you'll coordinate something. I need a day or two to get things sorted. Kevin, I can't keep her from her kids indefinitely. I'm not asking you to, just not today, please. A long pause. One day, then we figure out a real plan. Deal, thank you. Are you sleeping at all? I'll sleep when I'm dead. That's not funny. Wasn't joking. I hung up before she could argue. The sky outside was fully gray now, almost 5:30. In a few hours, law offices would open. Businesses would start their day. Life would continue like the world hadn't just ended. I opened my laptop again and started drafting a timeline for the divorce attorney. Dates, events, evidence, the iPad messages. Emily's admission of the affair, Trevor's conspiracy, everything documented, organized, ready to present. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Kevin, it's Trevor. Emily gave me your new number. We need to talk. I stared at it for a long moment. Then I blocked that number too. The hotel phone rang at 6:47 a.m., jolting me from something that wasn't quite sleep. I'd been staring at the ceiling for the past hour anyway, watching dawn creep around the blackout curtains. Mr. Bradshaw? This is Denise at the front desk. There's a woman here who says she's your wife. She's asking for your room number. My hand tightened on the receiver. Don't give it to her. Of course not, sir. That's why I'm calling. She's quite insistent. Should I? Tell her to leave. If she refuses, call security. I hung up and rolled out of bed, every muscle protesting. The laptop was still open on the desk. 17 client emails queued in drafts. I'd spent 3 hours crafting them, explaining that Trevor Walsh was no longer with the company due to fundamental differences in business philosophy, and that I would personally be handling their accounts going forward. Professional, calm. No hint of the dumpster fire my life had become. I hit send on all 17 at once, then opened my personal email. 23 unread messages. I scrolled past Emily's name 5 times. Subject lines ranging from, please call me, to you're being unreasonable, to think about the girls. Nothing from Trevor. He'd probably figured out I'd blocked him. There was one from Jennifer, time-stamped 11:47 p.m. Girls are asleep. Lucy asked when you're coming home. I told her you had a business trip. She wanted to know if you'd call before bedtime tomorrow. Madison drew you a picture. It's a dinosaur, she says. Looks more like a blob with legs, but don't tell her I said that. I closed my eyes, breathed. The phone rang again. Mr. Bradshaw, I'm very sorry, but your wife is refusing to leave. She says she'll wait in the lobby until you come down. Should I contact security? No, I'll handle it. I pulled on yesterday's clothes, still wrinkled from sleeping in the chair, splashed water on my face, looked at myself in the mirror, bloodshot eyes, 2-day stubble, hair standing in directions hair shouldn't stand. Good enough. She was sitting in one of the lobby armchairs, purse clutched in her lap like a shield. She'd been crying, mascara smudged, eyes puffy. She stood when she saw me step off the elevator. Kevin, please, we need to talk. We have nothing to talk about. I walked past her toward the front desk. She followed. You can't just throw away 8 years of marriage without even... I'm checking out, I told Denise, sliding my keycard across the counter. Charge everything to the card on file. Of course, Mr. Bradshaw. I hope your stay was comfortable. Comfortable. Right. Emily grabbed my arm. Kevin, listen to me. I made a mistake. A horrible, stupid mistake, but we can fix this. For the girls. They need their father. I turned to face her then, and whatever she saw in my expression made her step back. They have their father. What they don't have is a mother who gave a damn about them while she was screwing my business partner and planning to bankrupt their college fund. It wasn't like that. It was exactly like that. My voice stayed level, controlled. You want to talk about the girls? Fine. My lawyer will be in touch about custody arrangements. Until then, they're staying with Jennifer. You can't keep them from me. I'm not keeping them from you. You're welcome to visit. At Jennifer's house. With supervision. Her face flushed. Supervision? I'm their mother. You're also a liar and a cheat who conspired to financially destroy their father. So yeah, supervision. Denise was pretending very hard to focus on her computer screen. 2 businessmen in the lobby had stopped their conversation to watch. Emily's voice dropped to a hiss. You self-righteous bastard. You think you're so perfect? You were never home. Always working, always at the office. I was lonely, Kevin. You needed a divorce, not an affair, not a conspiracy. You could have left. Instead, you chose to lie, to scheme, to plan my destruction while I was working to give you everything you wanted. I picked up the receipt Denise had printed. We're done here. Kevin, please. I walked toward the parking garage without looking back. The office was quiet at 7:30 a.m. I'd beaten everyone except Diane from accounting, who gave me a concerned look when I walked past her door. Kevin, are you okay? You look... Fine, just a rough couple days. Trevor's office was at the end of the hall. I stood in the doorway for a moment, taking inventory. Framed photo of him and Emily at Lucy's baptism. He was her godfather, all smiles and promises. Signed baseball from some Cubs game we'd gone to in college. The expensive ergonomic chair I'd approved last year because he said his back was killing him. Everything looked different now. Tainted. I grabbed an empty banker's box from the supply closet and started packing. The personal items went in first. Photos, the baseball, his Northwestern mug, the stupid motivational poster about teamwork he'd hung ironically but secretly loved. Then I moved to the desk drawers, client files, account spreadsheets. His laptop was password protected, but IT could handle that. I made a note to have them image the hard drive before he tried to delete anything. The bottom drawer stuck. I yanked harder, and it came free with a screech of metal on metal. Inside were folders. Not client folders, these were personal. I pulled out the first one, financial projections. Not for Bradshaw Digital Solutions. For something called Walsh Digital Consulting. I opened it. The letterhead was professional. The business plan was detailed. Launch date, 6 months from now. Target clients, current Bradshaw Digital Solutions accounts, specifically the 17 Trevor managed. My 17 accounts. There were rate sheets, undercutting my prices by 15%. Marketing materials. A lease agreement for office space downtown, signed 3 weeks ago. Monthly rent, $4,200. He'd been planning this for months. The affair with Emily wasn't just about sex or even about love. It was about the business. It had always been about the business. Get the partnership, get the shares, seduce the wife, force the divorce, make me buy him out at the inflated post-partnership valuation, then take the clients anyway and start his own competing firm. I'd lose the buyout money and the accounts. He'd get both. I sat down in his expensive chair, the business plan spread across his desk. My hands were shaking. The affair was bad. The betrayal was devastating. But this was calculated destruction. This was professional murder disguised as friendship. I pulled out my phone and took pictures of every page, the business plan, the lease, the rate sheets, the client target list with notes about their contract renewal dates and pain points he could exploit. Then I called my lawyer, Barbara Winters. It's Kevin Bradshaw. We spoke yesterday about the divorce. Yes, I remember. What can I do for you, Kevin? I need to add something to the filing. Evidence of financial misconduct. My business partner, the one my wife was having the affair with, he's been planning to steal my clients. I just found his entire business plan in his desk. He was going to use the partnership shares to force a buyout, then compete directly using confidential client information. A pause. That's a breach of fiduciary duty, possibly theft of trade secrets. Do you have an operating agreement? Yes. Non-compete clause, confidentiality provisions, the standard stuff. Send me everything, photos, documents, anything you found. I'll need to loop in a business litigation attorney, but this is good, Kevin. This shows pattern and planning. It'll help with the divorce settlement. Demonstrates the affair was part of a larger scheme to defraud you. How fast can we move on this? On the divorce or the business claim? Both. I can file for a temporary restraining order today, preventing him from contacting your clients or using any company information. The divorce petition I already have ready. We can file this afternoon. But Kevin, I need to ask, are you sure you want to move this quickly? Sometimes it's better to file everything today. I want him buried before he knows what hit him. Understood. Send me those photos within the hour. I hung up and went back to photographing. Every page, every note, every piece of evidence that Trevor Walsh had spent months planning to destroy everything I'd built. The office was filling up now. I could hear voices in the hallway, the coffee maker gurgling in the break room. Normal morning sounds in a company that was about to implode. My phone buzzed. Email notification. Client response already. Kevin. Thanks for the heads up. Trevor reached out to me last night, actually. Said he was starting his own firm and wanted to discuss bringing our account with him. Seemed premature given he was still supposedly working for you. Happy to stay with Bradshaw Digital as long as you're the one handling things. Let's schedule a call this week. Bill. Last night. Trevor had started poaching clients last night within hours of being fired. I forwarded the email to Barbara, then opened my contact list. 17 clients. I started calling. The call to Pinnacle Healthcare went straight to voicemail. I left a message, professional and brief, requesting a call back to discuss their current project timeline. No mention of Trevor. No hint of panic. Next was Velocity Logistics. Their CEO, David Turner, picked up on the second ring. Kevin, I was just thinking about you. Trevor stopped by this morning with some interesting proposals. My jaw tightened. Did he now? Yeah, something about transitioning our account to a new firm he's launching. Said there were some changes happening at Bradshaw Digital. David's tone was curious, not accusatory. Wanted to give us a heads up before we heard it elsewhere. I stood, pacing the hotel room. David, I need to be direct with you. Trevor Walsh was terminated from my company this afternoon for breach of fiduciary duty. He has no authority to speak on behalf of Bradshaw Digital, and any proposals he's making are using confidential information he stole from our systems. Silence on the other end. Then, Jesus, Kevin, I had no idea. Neither did I until today. I kept my voice steady. I'm calling all our clients personally because I value our relationships too much to let you hear this secondhand. Trevor was an employee, a well-compensated one, but an employee. He never owned any portion of this company. What he's doing right now is illegal, and my attorneys are already involved. Appreciate the transparency. David's voice shifted. All business now. For what it's worth, something felt off about his pitch. Too eager, you know? And he kept emphasizing that you'd be overwhelmed, managing everything alone. Seemed like he was trying too hard to make you look incompetent. That tracks. I pulled up my notes on the Velocity account. Your platform migration is scheduled for the 15th. I'm personally overseeing it, and we're ahead of schedule. Nothing changes on your end. Good to know. And Kevin? Thanks for the call. Means something that you reached out yourself. 1 down, 16 to go. The next 3 calls went similarly. 2 reached voicemail, 1 got a confused receptionist who promised the decision maker would call back. Then I dialed Apex Manufacturing. Bradshaw, your boy Trevor just left our office. The voice belonged to Robert Hayes, their COO, made quite the presentation about why we should jump ship to his new venture. And, I braced myself, and I told him to get lost. Robert laughed, harsh and short. Look, I've worked with you for 5 years. You personally saved our ass during that data breach in March. Some guy I've met twice at meetings thinks I'm going to ditch you because he's got a fancy new business card? Please. The tension in my shoulders eased slightly. I appreciate that, Robert. Besides, he screwed up his own pitch. Started talking about proprietary systems you'd developed for our account, specific vulnerabilities you'd identified. I'm not a lawyer, but even I know he shouldn't have that information if he's starting a competitor. Robert's voice hardened. Made me wonder what he'd do with our data if we signed with him. Smart thinking. We're good, Kevin. Don't worry about Apex, but you might want to call the others fast. He mentioned having meetings lined up through Friday. I thanked him and ended the call, immediately dialing the next number. Trevor was moving faster than I'd anticipated. Not just sending emails or making calls, he was doing in-person presentations, using the access and relationships he'd built while working for me to systematically dismantle my client base. The next call went to Empire Retail Group. Their VP of Operations, Christine Allen, answered with a sigh. Kevin, I suppose you're calling about Trevor's visit yesterday. Yesterday. He'd started before I'd even discovered the messages. While I was still planning to sign partnership papers, he was already poaching clients. I managed. Look, I'll be straight with you. His proposal was compelling. 20% cost reduction, dedicated account team, faster turnaround times. Christine's tone was apologetic but firm. We're a business. We have to consider competitive offers. Of course you do. I sat back down, forcing myself to think strategically rather than emotionally. Can I ask what timeline he proposed for transition? He suggested we could start moving services over within 2 weeks. Said he's already got the infrastructure in place, just needs to finalize a few vendor contracts. Impossible. I'd built Bradshaw Digital over 7 years. The server architecture alone took months to configure properly. Trevor was lying to clients, making promises he couldn't keep, burning bridges he didn't even realize existed yet. Christine, I'm going to send you something. Give me 10 minutes. I opened my laptop, pulling up the Empire Retail file. Trevor doesn't have infrastructure. He has a business name filed 3 weeks ago and a website registered last Tuesday. I know because my attorney subpoenaed his email records this afternoon. Wait, what? He was terminated today for theft of trade secrets and breach of fiduciary duty. The proposals he's making to you and other clients are based on confidential information he stole from my systems, information he had access to as my employee, not as a legitimate competitor. I was typing as I talked, compiling documentation. I'm sending you his business registration date, his domain registration, and a letter from my attorney confirming the legal action we're taking. You can verify everything independently. Jesus Christ, I heard papers shuffling. Kevin, I had no idea. He made it sound like this was an amicable split, like you two were going separate directions. He's my wife's affair partner. There's nothing amicable about any of this. The words came out harsher than I'd intended. Christine went quiet. I'm sorry, I said. That was unprofessional. No, That's awful, Kevin. I'm really sorry. She exhaled slowly. Listen, send me that documentation. We're not making any decisions until I review everything. And for what it's worth, your work has always been solid. We've never had issues with Bradshaw Digital. Thank you. I'll have it to you in 5 minutes. I spent the next hour compiling a client communication package, Trevor's business registration dates, the timeline of his planning, a letter from Barbara's firm outlining the legal situation, and a personal statement from me explaining the circumstances without drowning in details. Professional, factual, devastating. By 8 p.m., I'd reached 11 of the 17 at-risk clients. 4 confirmed Trevor had already contacted them. 2 had been swayed by his proposals. 3 were waiting for more information. 6 hadn't heard from him yet, and my calls gave them advance warning about what was coming. The remaining 6 weren't answering. I left messages, sent emails with the documentation package, and made notes to follow up first thing in the morning. My phone rang. Barbara Winters. I have news, she said without preamble. Emily's been served. She called my office screaming about how you ambushed her and demanding to know why she wasn't given advance notice. How'd that go? I explained that's not how divorce works. She hung up on my paralegal. Barbara sounded amused. Also, she's apparently staying with her mother. Left a forwarding address for legal correspondence. Good. Means she's out of my house. About that. I'm filing for exclusive use and possession of the marital residence tomorrow morning. Given that you're the primary earner and she voluntarily vacated, we've got a strong argument for you to return home with the children while the divorce proceeds. Home. The house I'd bought because Emily said she'd always dreamed of a big backyard for the girls. The house where she'd been planning my financial destruction while I worked 60-hour weeks to afford the mortgage. Do it, I said. One more thing. I reached out to a colleague who specializes in business litigation. Given the evidence you found in Trevor's office, she thinks you've got an exceptionally strong case for injunctive relief. We can file for a temporary restraining order preventing him from soliciting your clients or using any proprietary information. How fast? Emergency hearing, possibly as soon as Monday. We'd need to demonstrate immediate and irreparable harm, but given that he's actively poaching clients right now, that shouldn't be difficult. Set it up, whatever it costs. I'll have the paperwork ready by tomorrow afternoon. You'll need to review and sign, then we file first thing Monday morning. Barbara paused. How are you holding up? I'm functional. That's not what I asked. I looked around the generic hotel room, laptop open with spreadsheets tracking which clients Trevor had contacted. Phone showing 17 missed calls from Emily's mother. Notes scattered across the desk documenting the systematic destruction of my personal and professional life. I'm angry, I said finally, and I'm going to make sure they both regret underestimating me. Good. Angry clients win cases. Just keep it controlled and documented. After she hung up, I returned to my client list. 3 more calls before I'd allow myself to sleep. The office smelled like burnt coffee and desperation. I sat across from Barbara Winters in her downtown office, watching her flip through the folder I'd assembled. 3 days since I'd kicked Emily out. 3 days of sleeping 2 hours a night and running on pure spite. Kevin? Barbara looked up, removing her reading glasses. I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest. My stomach tightened. Okay. Are you absolutely certain you want to pursue full custody? I'd expected this. Barbara had already warned me that fathers rarely won primary custody in Colorado unless the mother was demonstrably unfit. Emily wasn't a drug addict, wasn't violent. She'd just screwed my business partner and tried to financially destroy me. Apparently, that didn't count. I want my daughters, I said. I'm not letting her have them more than necessary. Barbara leaned back in her chair. The affair works in your favor, but judges care about stability and routine. Emily's been their primary caregiver for 6 years. You work 60-hour weeks. Worked, I corrected. Past tense. I'm restructuring. In 3 days? I've already interviewed 2 project managers. I'm promoting Rachel Donovan to Trevor's position. She's been with me for 4 years, knows the systems inside and out. I'm delegating client management and cutting my hours to 40 per week, maximum. Barbara made a note. That helps? What about your living situation? What about it? The house is in both names. Emily could argue she should stay there with the girls to minimize disruption to their lives. You'd be the one moving out. I felt my jaw clench. The house I'd bought, the mortgage I paid, the big backyard Emily had always dreamed of. Over my dead body. That's not a legal argument. Barbara's voice was gentle but firm. I'm on your side, Kevin. But I need you to understand what we're facing. Family court isn't about fairness. It's about what the judge thinks is best for Lucy and Madison. I stared at the ceiling tiles, counting them. 14 across. Trying not to think about Madison asking when Mommy was coming home. Lucy had been quieter, watching me with those 2 old eyes that said she understood more than a 6-year-old should. What are my realistic options? I asked. Barbara consulted her notes. Best case scenario with the evidence we have? Joint custody with a 60-40 split. You'd have them every other weekend, 1 weeknight dinner, alternating holidays. That's best case? Unless we can prove she's an unfit mother, yes. Barbara paused. The affair demonstrates poor judgment, but it doesn't make her a bad parent. Has she ever neglected the girls? Been drunk around them? Anything that would raise red flags? I thought about it. Really thought about it, searching for ammunition. Emily had always been attentive with Lucy and Madison, made their lunches, helped with homework, took them to the park. The book club lie had been on Thursday nights, after the girls were in bed. She'd been home for dinner, for bedtime routines, for everything that mattered to them. She'd just been screwing Trevor afterward. No, I admitted. Nothing like that. Then we focus on what we can control. Barbara pulled out a fresh legal pad. Financial stability. You have the advantage there. You're the primary earner. Work schedule. You're fixing that. Character witnesses. We'll need people who can testify to your involvement as a father. Jennifer, I said immediately. My sister. She's seen me with the girls constantly. Good. Anyone else? Teachers? Coaches? Lucy's in soccer. I've made most of her games. Most, but not all. Trevor had covered client meetings when I couldn't. The irony tasted like acid. Her coach is Amanda Price. We've talked at practices. Barbara wrote it down. I'll need contact information for both. What about Emily's character witnesses? I laughed, a short, bitter sound. Her book club friends, probably, except there was no book club. But she has friends who think there was. Women who will testify she was a devoted mother, active in the community. Barbara met my eyes. I'm not trying to discourage you. I'm trying to prepare you. My phone buzzed. A text from Rachel. Client call with Brennan Industries went well. They're staying with us. That's 12 of 17 confirmed. Small victories. What about the conspiracy? I asked. The message is where she and Trevor plan to bankrupt me. Doesn't that show she's willing to harm the girl's father? It shows she's willing to harm you, Barbara corrected. And yes, we'll use it. But her attorney will argue it was about ending an unhappy marriage and securing her financial future. They'll paint you as the workaholic husband who neglected his family while building his business. That's not... I stopped. Was it true? How many dinners had I missed? How many bedtime stories had I skipped for client calls? I thought about Lucy's last birthday party. I'd been there for cake, but I'd spent half of it on my phone dealing with a server crash. Emily had handled the games, the presents, the thank you notes to parents. They'll have a point, I said quietly. Which is why we need to show change, Barbara said. Real, documented change. Not just promises. You said you're restructuring the business. I need details, specific hours, specific commitments. If you tell the judge you'll be home for dinner 5 nights a week, you better be able to prove it. I pulled out my phone, opened the calendar app. I've blocked 5 to 8 p.m. every weekday. No meetings, no calls. Rachel has instructions to handle any emergencies during those hours unless it's literally a company-ending crisis. Good. Keep records, photos of family dinners, documentation of homework help, soccer practices, everything. She paused. I know this feels invasive, like you have to prove you're a father, but that's exactly what you have to do. My phone buzzed again. Jennifer. Girls asking about Emily again. What should I tell them? I rubbed my eyes. What should she tell them? That their mother was a cheating liar who'd tried to destroy their father? That she'd been planning to blow up their lives for months while tucking them in at night? Tell them Mommy and Daddy need some time apart. I'll talk to them tonight. I need to pick up my daughters, I told Barbara. They've been at Jennifer's since Friday. Bring them home, Barbara said. Establish routine. Be the stable parent. And Kevin? She waited until I looked at her. Document everything Emily does too. Every missed call to the girls, every canceled visit, every choice she makes that puts herself first. You want me to build a case against her. I want you to protect yourself, because she's doing the same thing. I thought about that as I drove to Jennifer's house in Lakewood. Emily would have hired an attorney by now. She'd be getting the same advice. Document everything. Establish yourself as the primary parent. Show stability. But she'd left. I'd told her to, sure, but she'd gone. She'd been at Trevor's apartment for 3 days while I had the girls. That had to count for something. Jennifer met me at the door, looking exhausted. They're watching a movie. Kevin, we need to talk. Not the words I wanted to hear. Emily called, Jennifer said. She wants to see the girls. No. You can't keep her from them. Legally, you can't. I knew that. Barbara had already explained it. Until we had a custody order, Emily had the same parental rights I did. She could show up and take Lucy and Madison right now if she wanted. What did you tell her? I asked. That she needed to talk to you. Jennifer crossed her arms. Kevin, I love you. You're my brother. But those girls need their mother. Their mother tried to destroy their father. Their mother is still their mother. Jennifer's voice was firm. Whatever happened between you and Emily, Lucy and Madison didn't do anything wrong. They don't deserve to lose her. I wanted to argue. Wanted to say that Emily had made her choice when she'd crawled into bed with Trevor. That she'd lost the right to play mother when she'd plotted to bankrupt me. But Jennifer was right. Damn it, she was right. Supervised visits, I said. She can see them at your place. I'll drop them off, Pick them up. She doesn't take them anywhere alone. That's not sustainable. It's what I've got right now. I looked past Jennifer into the living room, where I could see the back of Madison's head over the couch. I need time to figure this out. My phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. Kevin Bradshaw. Mr. Bradshaw, this is Detective Lisa Garrett with the Denver Police Department. I need to ask you some questions about Trevor Walsh. My heart stopped. What about him? Mr. Walsh filed a police report this morning alleging you threatened him and stole proprietary business information. I'd like you to come down to the station to discuss this. I stood in Jennifer's doorway, phone pressed to my ear, watching my daughters through the window. Lucy was braiding Madison's hair while some cartoon played on the TV. They looked peaceful. Safe. I'll be there in an hour, I told Detective Garrett. The police station smelled like industrial cleaner and stale coffee. Detective Garrett was a woman in her 40s with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor. She led me to an interview room that looked exactly like every cop show I'd ever seen. Gray walls, metal table, mirror that was probably two-way glass. Mr. Bradshaw, thank you for coming in voluntarily. She set a folder on the table between us. Mr. Walsh claims you've been harassing him, that you stole confidential business documents from his office, and that you threatened his livelihood. I almost laughed. Almost. Detective, I own the company. Trevor Walsh was my employee. I fired him and packed up his personal belongings from my office. That's not theft. He says the documents you took included his proprietary business plan for a competing venture. The business plan he developed using my confidential client information while still employed by me? I pulled out my phone, opened the photos I'd sent to Barbara. The one that lists my clients, their contract renewal dates, and strategies for poaching them? That business plan? Detective Garrett's expression didn't change, but she took my phone and scrolled through the images. And the harassment? I called clients to inform them of personnel changes at my company. That's business management, not harassment. Mr. Walsh provided phone records showing 43 calls from your number over a 3-day period. 43 calls to my clients, not to him. I blocked his number after he tried to contact me. I leaned forward. Detective, did Trevor mention why I fired him? He said it was a personal dispute. He's been having an affair with my wife for 4 months. They planned to wait until I made him a business partner, then force a divorce that would bankrupt me while he stole my clients. I have text messages, financial documents, everything. My attorney has already filed for restraining orders. Detective Garrett set down my phone. This sounds like a civil matter, Mr. Bradshaw. It is, which is why I'm confused about why I'm here. She studied me for a long moment. Mr. Walsh seemed genuinely frightened. Said you have a temper, that he was worried about what you might do. The absurdity of it hit me then. Trevor, who'd systematically betrayed me, who'd planned my destruction for months, was playing victim, trying to get ahead of the legal consequences by painting me as the aggressor. I've never threatened him, I said carefully. I fired him. I blocked his number. I protected my business. If he's interpreting that as aggression, that's his problem. Detective Garrett closed the folder. I'm not filing charges. This is clearly a civil dispute. But Mr. Bradshaw, whatever you're going through, keep it in the courtroom. Don't give him ammunition. I drove back to Jennifer's with those words ringing in my head. Don't give him ammunition. Trevor was scared. Good. He should be. But scared people did desperate things. The emergency custody hearing was set for Thursday morning. Barbara had filed for temporary orders, giving me primary physical custody pending the final divorce decree. Emily's attorney, a sharp-eyed woman named Patricia Vance, had countered with a motion for equal parenting time. We'd find out in 3 days which way the judge would lean. I spent those 3 days being the perfect father. Took the girls to school every morning, picked them up every afternoon, made dinner, actual dinner, not takeout, helped Lucy with her math homework, read Madison 3 bedtime stories instead of 1, documented everything. Emily called 17 times. I didn't answer. She showed up at the house twice. I didn't open the door. She sent emails begging to see the girls, promising she'd changed, swearing the affair was over. I forwarded everything to Barbara. On Wednesday night, Lucy asked the question I'd been dreading. "Daddy, why doesn't Mommy live here anymore?" We were sitting at the kitchen table. Madison was coloring. Lucy was supposed to be doing spelling homework, but had been staring at the same page for 10 minutes. I set down my coffee. "Mommy and Daddy are having some grown-up problems. We need time apart to figure things out." "Is it because of Uncle Trevor?" My blood went cold. "What makes you say that?" Lucy shrugged, not meeting my eyes. "I heard you yelling. That night before we went to Aunt Jennifer's. You said his name a lot." How much had she heard? How much did she understand? "Uncle Trevor isn't going to be around anymore," I said carefully. "He made some bad choices." "Did Mommy make bad choices too?" 6 years old. She was 6 years old and already connecting dots I'd hoped she wouldn't see for years. "Sometimes grown-ups make mistakes," I said. "But that doesn't mean we don't love you and Madison. That never changes." "Are you going to get divorced?" Madison looked up from her coloring, crayon frozen in midair. I could lie. Could tell them everything would be fine, that Mommy and Daddy would work it out. But they'd know. Kids always knew. "Probably," I said quietly. "But that doesn't change anything about how much we love you. You'll still have both of us. We'll just live in different houses." Lucy's eyes filled with tears. "I don't want different houses." I pulled her into my lap, and Madison abandoned her coloring to climb up too. We sat there in the kitchen, my daughters crying against my chest, while I tried to find words that would make this better and came up empty. Because there were no words. Their family was broken. Their mother had made choices that blew up their world. Their father had been too busy building a company to notice until it was too late. "I'm sorry," I whispered into Lucy's hair. "I'm so sorry." Thursday morning arrived with gray skies and the promise of snow. I wore my best suit, navy blue conservative tie, shoes I'd polished the night before. Barbara had coached me on courtroom demeanor, respectful, calm, focused on the children's best interests. Don't show anger. Don't attack Emily personally. Just present facts. Emily was already there when I arrived, sitting with Patricia Vance at the defendant's table. She'd dressed carefully too. Modest dress, minimal makeup, hair pulled back. Playing the part of the wronged wife. Our eyes met across the courtroom. She looked away first. All rise. The Honorable Judge Margaret Wilson presiding. We stood as the judge entered. A woman in her 60s with gray hair and an expression that suggested she'd seen every variation of human dysfunction and wasn't impressed by any of it. "Be seated. We're here for temporary orders in the matter of Bradshaw versus Bradshaw." Judge Wilson looked over her reading glasses at both attorneys. "Ms. Winters, you filed first. Proceed." Barbara stood. "Your Honor, we're requesting primary physical custody for Mr. Bradshaw with supervised visitation for Mrs. Bradshaw. The evidence will show that Mrs. Bradshaw engaged in a months-long affair with Mr. Bradshaw's business partner, during which time they conspired to defraud Mr. Bradshaw of his business assets. She has demonstrated a pattern of deception and poor judgment that calls into question her ability to provide a stable environment for the minor children." Patricia Vance rose immediately. "Your Honor, this is a transparent attempt to punish Mrs. Bradshaw for the breakdown of the marriage. The affair, while regrettable, does not make her an unfit mother. She has been the primary caregiver for Lucy and Madison since birth. Mr. Bradshaw works 60 to 80 hours per week and has minimal involvement in the children's daily care. Removing them from their primary attachment figure would cause significant harm. Ms. Winters, Judge Wilson prompted. Barbara presented the text messages. The business plan. Trevor's client poaching. My restructuring of work hours. Character statements from Jennifer, from Lucy's soccer coach, from my accountant who could verify the financial conspiracy. Patricia countered with Emily's daily routine with the girls. School drop-offs, doctor's appointments, parent-teacher conferences. A calendar showing I'd missed 14 of Lucy's 16 soccer games this season. 14. I'd thought I'd made most of them. The hearing lasted 90 minutes. Judge Wilson asked questions, reviewed documents, and gave nothing away with her expression. Finally, she set down her pen. I've reviewed the evidence presented by both parties. This is clearly a high-conflict situation with significant animosity between the parents. However, my concern is not the parents' feelings about each other. My concern is the best interests of Lucy and Madison. I held my breath. Mrs. Bradshaw's affair demonstrates poor judgment, but it does not demonstrate unfitness as a parent. The financial conspiracy alleged by Mr. Bradshaw is concerning, but that is a matter for civil court, not family court. What I see here are two parents who have both contributed to their children's care in different ways, and two children who need stability during a traumatic transition. No. No, no, no. Therefore, I am ordering joint legal custody with a temporary physical custody schedule as follows. The children shall reside primarily with Mrs. Bradshaw. The rest of her words disappeared under a roaring in my ears. Emily had won. After everything she'd done, she'd won. Mr. Bradshaw shall have parenting time every other weekend from Friday at 6 p.m. through Sunday at 6 p.m., and every Wednesday evening from 5 to 8 p.m. Both parents shall attend co-parenting counseling. Neither parent shall speak negatively about the other in the children's presence. This order is temporary pending final divorce decree. Next review in 60 days. The gavel came down. I sat frozen while the courtroom emptied around me. Barbara was saying something, but I couldn't hear her, couldn't process it. I'd lost my daughters. The next 8 weeks were the hardest of my life. I moved back into the house, my house, the one I'd bought. But it felt empty. Lucy and Madison came for their Wednesday dinners and their every other weekends, but it wasn't enough. It would never be enough. Emily got the rest. The bedtime stories, the morning routines, the daily moments that made up a childhood. Work became my refuge again. Rachel excelled as operations manager, handling the day-to-day chaos while I focused on strategy and client relationships. We'd lost 5 of the 17 clients Trevor had targeted, but the remaining 12 stayed loyal. I hired 2 new project managers and a marketing director. Bradshaw Digital Solutions survived. The business litigation against Trevor moved forward slowly. His attorney filed motion after motion trying to dismiss, but Barbara's colleague was relentless. We had the evidence. We had the timeline. We had him. The divorce proceedings were uglier. Emily wanted half of everything: the house, the business valuation, my retirement accounts. Patricia Vance painted me as the absent workaholic who'd driven Emily into another man's arms through neglect. Some days, I almost believed it. But then I'd remember those text messages, the calculated planning, the eggplant emoji and the lies and the conspiracy to destroy everything I'd built. And I'd keep fighting. The final divorce hearing was scheduled for mid-March, 4 months after I'd found those messages on Emily's iPad. Spring was trying to break through Colorado's winter, patches of brown grass showing through melting snow. I sat in the courtroom, the same courtroom where I'd lost temporary custody, and watched Judge Wilson review the settlement agreement our attorneys had finally negotiated. Emily got the house. I'd buy her out of my business at a valuation we'd both agreed to. Less than she'd wanted, more than I'd hoped to pay. She got half the retirement accounts. I got primary custody of the girls. That last part had taken 6 weeks of negotiation. Emily had violated the temporary custody order 4 times, missed pickups, showed up late, canceled a weekend visit because she needed time to herself. Each violation was documented, presented to the judge, added to the evidence pile. In the end, Patricia had advised her to take the deal. Primary custody to me, generous visitation for Emily, no child support because we'd agreed to split expenses 50-50. Emily signed first, her hand shaking slightly. Then me. Then the attorneys. Then Judge Wilson. The marriage of Emily Bradshaw and Kevin Bradshaw is hereby dissolved, Judge Wilson said. Good luck to both of you. That was it. 8 years of marriage ended with a signature and a gavel. I walked out of the courthouse into weak March sunlight. Barbara walked beside me, carrying the folder with my copies of everything. How do you feel? She asked. I thought about it. Really thought about it. Free, I said finally. And tired. The business case against Trevor settles next month. His attorney is pushing for mediation. Let him push. I want my day in court. Barbara smiled slightly. I thought you might say that. Trevor's business, Walsh Digital Consulting, lasted 7 months before filing for bankruptcy. Turned out clients didn't appreciate being lied to about infrastructure capabilities. Turned out having a business plan wasn't the same as having a business. The court found him liable for theft of trade secrets and breach of fiduciary duty. Ordered him to pay restitution plus my legal fees. The total came to just over $200,000. He didn't have it. His business was dead, his reputation destroyed, his assets minimal. The judgment would follow him for years, garnishing wages, destroying credit, a permanent reminder of what happened when you tried to steal another man's life. I didn't feel victorious, just tired. Emily moved into a condo in Aurora, 20 minutes from my house. She got the girls every other weekend and Wednesday evenings, the exact schedule I'd had under the temporary order. The irony wasn't lost on either of us. I never learned what happened to her and Trevor. Whether they stayed together, whether the affair survived the destruction of both our lives. I didn't ask, didn't care. My daughters were what mattered. 1 year after I'd found those messages, I sat in the bleachers at Lucy's soccer game. She was playing forward, running down the field with single-minded determination. I'd made every game this season, every practice, every team event. Madison sat beside me, coloring in a notebook. She'd started kindergarten in the fall, already reading at a first-grade level. Smart like her sister. Emily was there too, sitting 3 rows down with her mother. We didn't speak beyond necessary coordination about the girls. The co-parenting counselor said that was normal, that civility would come with time. Maybe. Maybe not. Lucy scored a goal and I jumped up cheering. Madison abandoned her coloring to clap. Emily stood too, shouting encouragement. And for a moment we were just 2 parents proud of their daughter. Then the moment passed, and we were strangers again. After the game, I took the girls for ice cream. Lucy got chocolate chip. Madison got strawberry. We sat outside the shop despite the October chill, and they told me about school, about their friends, about the Halloween costumes they'd picked out. Normal things, good things. Daddy, Lucy asked, chocolate smeared on her chin. Are you happy? The question caught me off guard. What makes you ask that? She shrugged. You seem different than before, less tired. I thought about the man I'd been a year ago. Working 80-hour weeks, missing dinners, building a company while my marriage crumbled around me. Too busy to notice my wife's affair. Too focused on success to see the cost. I thought about the man I was now. 40-hour weeks. Dinner with my daughters 5 nights a week. Bedtime stories and homework help and soccer games. A smaller company, a smaller income, a smaller life by some measures. But a real life. An honest life. A life built on things that actually mattered. Yeah, I told Lucy, wiping the chocolate from her face. I'm happy. And I was. The truth is, betrayal doesn't make you stronger. That's what people say when they're trying to find meaning in pain, trying to convince themselves that suffering has purpose. But it's a lie. Betrayal just hurts. It breaks things that can't be fully repaired. But what you build afterward, that can be stronger. Not because of the betrayal, but in spite of it. I learned that I'd been chasing the wrong things. That success without presence is just expensive loneliness. That working 80 hours a week to provide for your family means nothing if you're never actually there. Emily taught me that too, in her way, by showing me what happened when I prioritized everything except what mattered most. I don't forgive her. Probably never will. But I understand now that we were both responsible for the marriage that failed. Her for the betrayal, me for the absence that made space for it. Trevor? He's just a cautionary tale, a reminder that envy and entitlement make people stupid. That stealing someone else's life never works because you can't steal the work that built it. My daughters will grow up in a broken home. That's the reality I have to live with. But they'll grow up with a father who's present, who chooses them over spreadsheets and client meetings. Who understands that the most important thing I'll ever build isn't a company. It's the relationship with two girls who call me daddy. Lucy scores another goal. Madison finishes her ice cream. The sun sets over the mountains, painting the sky orange and pink, and I'm there to see it. That's enough. That has to be enough.